Martian Premier League. Welcome. Happy to have you. Really like what you guys got going on, and floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Corey, one of the founders of the Martian Premier League. And thanks for letting us go first. It is 2 a.m. here, so it's quite late in the day.
Gee whiz.
Maybe some background for those who don't know a lot about us. The Martian Premier League was launched in March, about 6 weeks or so ago. We were actually one of the only projects to sell out in March, and we sold that in pre-sale. And we were trying to do three things with our project. The first is that we wanted to build a game. We brought a game that we think is uniquely suited to the blockchain, which is a football management or soccer management simulation game being played on Mars. Secondly, we wanted to build unique and interesting PFP art. I think for those who have checked out the style of our art, it is unique in style at the very least across our humans and Martians. And then the last is we wanted to build a entertainment franchise. What we recognize is that building small games or small communities that are held back by 2,000 to 3,000 people, if you're building something of scale, is actually very challenging to then think about the long-term viability of that as a business. And therefore, the entertainment franchise represents our intention to continue to expand the universe, both through kind of traditional Web 2 avenues, such as traditional media, and also using Mars as the creative base to build other games within the Mars universe. I think that the key things that make us significantly differentiated from other projects in the space, the first is we're a fully doxed team. Our founding team includes the former creative director of Harry Potter, developers who worked on things such as the launch of USDC, commercial director and head of growth at large esports companies, and advisors to kind of technology and venture capital across Europe. And our lead illustrator as former collabs includes Marvel. Indeed, actually, the team is now 20 people deep. If you do get a chance to check out our website, www.martianpremierleague.com. And we're also a team that is fully financially transparent, which, if I'm honest with you, I think is an absolute requirement in the space if you're building a game. So we actually produce monthly management accounts for our holders so they can see exactly how and where we're spending the money. I think that is, if we truly believe in Web3 values of transparency, then I think it's absolutely critical that we, continue to do that across, our project and other projects in terms of letting people know how that will evolve. So the question is, okay, well, where are we on this journey in quite grand vision? I would say that the first is that, we're about 6 weeks since post our mint. We are about to ship our first product, which is the first part of the game, which is Bootcamp, where individuals who own our token will be able to claim their player within the Martian Premier League and start to compete in a series of challenges within Bootcamp in order to earn our utility token. Readies is a sort of side note. We're actually completely structured offshore in order to make sure that all our token offerings are completely legal and above board. One of the few projects in Web3 to do so. Obviously allowing us to provide significant protection and confidence within our community. So in phase one, they'll be earning that token in order to upgrade their players in order to, drive the kind of improved attributes as we get ready for kind of phase two of the game. So in phase one, not only will they be claiming a player on L2, customizing that player that will be reflected dynamically on chain, and competing in a series of challenges which are novel on-chain based risk protocols, including very simple risk-based protocols, but also quite novel protocols involving social coordination. And they'll also be able to explore the entirety of the Mars map. Do check out the map at map.martianpremierleague.com. We spent a lot of time bringing the best of Web 2 UI and UX experience to what we're doing. And that will be the sort of the basis for phase one, which will be a sort of a 6-week period before we move approximately the same amount of time forward in order to the launch of phase two, which will be the full game engine, where we are partnered with where we have continued to partner with a number of people to help ensure that our game design and balance within the football management simulation meets the right requirements for kind of fun and important game balance, including a large Web2 football management simulation company, which we're really excited to share at the relevant point. So it's been quite a busy few weeks, and actually tomorrow, I guess tomorrow or the day after, depending on where you are in the world, we will be doing our snapshot for our comic, as we talked about that Web2 influence, where holders will get the chance to receive a digital and physical edition, both free, copy of our origin story comic, which tells the story of our protagonist, Professor Gaffer's decision to leave Earth and start a new society on Mars. That's a comic that's been done in collaboration with John Nee. John Nee is the former publisher of Marvel, so we're super excited to get that, and do check out on the website a number of other kind of different covers that you can get if you're interested in getting that. So it's certainly been a busy few weeks for us post mint. As we lead up to boot camp in this kind of first phase of development. And I think we're really proud of where we've got to in sort of 6 weeks or so post mint, and ready to keep shipping product on pretty regular 6 to 7 week cycles going forwards to keep rewarding and delighting our holders. That was the short summary, quite a lot to digest. So I'll maybe pause there and see if you guys have any questions.
Well, I'm sure Terces does, and anybody from the crowd at any time, raise the hand up, request to speak, because we love getting feedback from the crowd here. But two things that popped out to me, the team obviously being fully doxed, and your approach to the project as a business. That's something that really strikes home with us three, with the janitors, because that's kind of what the space has turned into now. You had a lot of those PFP projects that took off in 2021. And now you need to approach this as if it's a startup. So I really like hearing that, and the full transparency on the financials. I don't think I knew about you guys, and I also just wanted to tip my hat there. I think that's key, and staying true to the Web3 values, which you don't really see maybe as much as you wanted nowadays. So hat tip to you on those. Terces, anything that you wanted to be asking these guys?
I think for me it's just you guys have so much that you're doing, even from just reading through the white paper and the lore behind everything with Gaffer, and everything that you guys have written about how the Mars Premier League came to be and what's happening. It's really cool, and it's the white paper's not small. Reading through it, it's quite a bit. So you guys have definitely taken a lot of time and a lot of effort to put this all together, and I just feel like you're so undervalued for what you're bringing in the space compared to a lot of these projects you see that are maybe just profile pictures or just art. And what you guys are doing is really cool. It kind of reminds me a little bit of RumbleKong League, where they have the same kind of uh, sport kind of game. And I think it's super relevant because a lot of the space is also super into sports. And when you talk about football or soccer, as we say in the USA, it's the biggest sport in the world, right? And so to put to bring it into the NFT space is massive. So I love that you guys have done that.
That's very kind. Yeah, and I think there's lots to learn from other projects, as you say, like RumbleKongs. I would say we are going to ship product faster than RumbleKongs, which is quite exciting. Which is good. I think that's really important. It's a really delicate balance in the space to because the NFT attention span is sort of very small, and ultimately that does mean you have to work on a slightly different digital product development cycle than you probably would work in any other environment. But I think that comes with pros and cons. So we're excited to get kind of stuff out there.
Right.
I think to your sort of slightly broader point about treating things as a business and scale up, I think that's like really important now. I think that we're in an era where if all you're ultimately generating is a kind of an NFT profile picture, you can sort of do that with a kind of founder and maybe an artist and a kind of dev that can just abandon ship once everything's been shipped. I think when you're building games, you need quite significant team. You need to think quite carefully about long-term budgeting and so forth. It really, for me, it is the era of the kind of amateur founding team is done. If you're kind of going to do that, and therefore, as I'm also an NFT trader myself, and I just won't invest in games projects that don't have docs teams, don't generate transparency, where they have complex roadmaps, because I think, I think it's although Web3 has this kind of value of being a non. I'm also asking, if you're going to take $500 of my dollars, then it feels reasonable that I might know a little bit about you. But also with those complex roadmaps, it's just very difficult for a kind of amateur, maybe not as experienced teams to deliver on that, particularly when times get hard as they are now, where the market conditions are difficult, not just for it's difficult for nearly every NFT project and crypto in the space, or indeed stock shares and the real economy.
Right.
Such an interesting point for sure. Well said. And we talk about this, Flosi, Terces, and I, about you put it an interesting way, the amateur founders, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It was a fascinating technology that came about in 2021, and now I do think you're so right in terms of the experienced folks that are maybe either learn their lessons early on or have in real life business experience, as us three do in terms of the Janitors founders that are kind of taking their in real life business uh, experience, right, and applying it to the NFT world. It is a fascinating space. It does move so quickly, but I think you're right. I think as summer comes along, 2022 progresses, you will see the stronger teams, and I say this till I'm blue in the face, and Terces and Flosi agree that it's the teams, the people that you buy into. So cheers, man. That was very well said. I'd love to see. I mean, I'm sure Terces may have a comment. If anybody, and I have one more question. I'll save it for the last question. But if anybody in the crowd has any questions, comments, anything at all to add to the conversation, please request to speak. Otherwise, Terces, anything else for Martian Premier League
Yeah.
or
So
Flosi, of course. Flosi, I ignore you. I don't ignore you on purpose, but
I
It's
know
not
the
nice, but it's okay.
I do have a request. I love hearing this, and actually, I think I know who this is. Is a OG, one of the truest OGs we have in the genders. This kid's been in the space in our server since we opened it, I think. So M22, welcome, welcome. He actually, I think it's a he.
It is a he. Yep.
MPL.
It is a he. Brought me, I'm pretty sure, the MPL, and then I went and got some whitelist
I
spots
did.
for the
I
janitor.
did. So
Cheers,
I just
man.
want to come on
Welcome.
and because the MPL account there isn't really bragging quite enough on themselves, but I've been in since pre-mint. I minted with MPL. Their financial transparency is out of this world. They publish Google Docs with all the details of their financials, and he really treats us like a business. There's nobody that does more Twitter Spaces and AMAs than the Martian Premier League. So if you're wanting an NFT that is run like a business and with the hardest working team, that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Cheers.
That's very kind. And the one thing I'd comment is, when you talk about undervalued projects, I mean, we're obviously doing reasonably well. Obviously, the market's hit us a little bit, but we're still, I think, 0.13 or 0.14 or something. So a little bit down from where we were a few days ago. But, the thing for me that's interesting about this space is a lot of people trying to build their floor price via this kind of hype cycle. And what we get is this kind of inverted parabola of price. It sort of spikes up to maybe say 0.8, 1, and then all of a sudden it sort of crashes because there is no plan after you've gone through the kind of classic growth marketing hacks, influencers, shilling, and so forth. That is really unappealing to us as a team because, one, we don't think it builds long-term sustainable value growth of your kind of underlying product. What it does is it builds hype that disappears, and actually you end up with disengaged communities because a bunch of those people buy at the top in that kind of cycle, and then they're like, well, I thought you had all these plans that are being hyped up, and actually they've turned out to be mostly false. And I think that for us, success is not success definitely relates to the floor price. We're not crazy to sort of ignore it, but it relates to it on kind of key milestones over time, where we see strong sustainable growth as we deliver through that allows our community to hopefully benefit, and people to make their own choices, of course, about when to buy in, but know that we're not trying to deliberately build false hype cycles. I
100%.
obviously can't control what people do in terms of the market, but that hype cycle is something that we deliberately try to steer away from.
And
Love it.
I think floor price too, with projects and companies that are building, it kind of corrects itself, right? It doesn't necessarily matter as much because doesn't matter what your floor price is. You're going to continue to build. You're going to continue to hit your milestones, and the floor price is going to be determined by your community, right? And so it's not a huge, it doesn't matter as much for communities, especially like what you guys are doing, where you're hitting your goals, you're building an actual product, and you're not just focused on your art, right? You're focused on a lot more than just the profile picture. So
100%. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's right. And we do like to be focused on the art. If anyone does check us out, every communication we do is branded. That's why we have a full-time illustrator. If you're going to build a world, then build a world that is persistent. But yeah, I think your point is excellent. The floor price should represent your growth over time as you keep shipping product, as opposed to the hype. I 100% agree with you, Terces and team.
so
awesome.
with
But
I do have a question about the boot camp. So that's about to kick off, right? So you're really close to the boot camp starting. That's pretty exciting. Uh, People are going to be able to earn a utility token within that boot camp. What will the boot camp entail? Are people going to be engaged in doing stuff, or is it kind of just okay? You stake your Martian Premier League NFT, and now you're in the boot camp and you earn token, but you don't do anything really. So what does that entail, the boot camp?
Yeah, great question. First thing is, we don't believe in staking. We think it's a very misused term.
Mm-hmm.
Staking implies risk. It's actually just an artificial tactic to improve floor price. So there'll be no staking. But people will be passively earning tokens via the Mars Universal Basic Income, which will be sort of stage one. But in order to, do the challenges, it is a kind of active participation of people in terms of doing that. So, on the one hand, and I guess there's a few things, is that across our map, there are about 12 different venues in the kind of Mars location that Professor Gaffer has landed in. 6 of them will end up being bootcamp venues, which of course I know which 6 they are, but our community doesn't. And in the games that they'll play there, which will have risk-based games, there will be a number of challenges where there will be boosts and probability improvement chances depending on the attributes that you have, which could be your attributes in terms of your pace, for example, if it was a running track, or perhaps maybe kind of our novice or less skilled players get boosts if we go to the gym as they kind of hit those beginner games. But some of the example games, for example, would be a game like tackling, which is a kind of novel on-chain social coordination game where there are a large number of balls are effectively distributed to each character that constantly accrue tokens to an individual player. As those tokens accrue, the individual holding the ball may choose to leave the game at any point in time and take all their tokens with them. But others without tokens may be able to tackle someone else with a small probability of success and take all of their tokens and continue playing the game. So creating a sort of quasi prisoner's dilemma challenge about how long do you hold, when do you choose to intervene in the game in order to optimize your chance of maximizing token accrual, and doing quite a lot of things that are fundamentally and a lot of this all being done on chain, although with very nice UI and UX, by the way. So it does look quite cool. So there'll be quite interesting challenges. Is it a sort of is it a kind of MMO-esque challenge? No. The kind of full game is going to be in phase 2, but people should be excited every week with quite interesting challenges that they need to sort of really think and strategize about, and also strategize at the start about which attributes they should be choosing for their character in order to optimize their chance of success in the different challenges.
Awesome.
Cool.
A lot of really cool stuff going on with the MPL.
I know. I get
Lot of depth to the project there for sure. So much thanks. I do have the last question just to end it all here, unrelated to the NFTs. I just need to know if you're a true big footy fan and who you got, because I'm a Foxes guy in the EPL with my Leicester City guys.
Well, I'm a Newcastle fan, having grown up
Okay.
there.
God love you.
But in the team, we have Newcastle, Burnley, and Blackburn Rovers are our three big teams that we support.
Love it. And Blackburn's been making a push. Cool. Cheers,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. Love hearing that. Very cool. Well, thanks so much for joining. That was excellent.